You had to sign a confession.
Yes.
They wrote that confession.
Yes.
What did it feel like to sign that?
I think even now, like, it breaks my heart because I know I shouldn't have.
The fire inside. The fire inside. Welcome to the Fire Inside podcast, where we tell real stories of how we persevere, overcome, and rise from extraordinary circumstances. Each conversation here is powered by the vulnerability and resilience of survivors, advocates, and changemakers who found a way forward, even when the path wasn't always clear. I'm your host, Sarah. In today's episode, you'll meet Deon Patrick, a man who was sentenced to life in prison for a 1992 double murder that he didn't commit, and frankly, couldn't have. He spent more than 2 decades behind bars before finally being cleared and released. In this conversation, Deon goes back to the beginning, what life was like growing up, the choices and circumstances that put him on the radar of the system, and how everything converged into the case that changed his life. He also opens up about what it took to hold on to his mind, his faith, and his sense of self during those long years inside, and how he's learning to live and define himself beyond his conviction now that he's home. For me, having spent years talking with people who've been incarcerated, mostly through my documentary work, this was a different kind of conversation. Getting to sit down with someone who's officially been declared innocent and really asking, who are you after something like that? And what does it mean to rise from it? This is The Fire Inside, and today we're listening to Deon Patrick. How are you feeling today, Deon?
I'm fine with yourself.
Great. Thank you so much again for being here. Really appreciate it. It's an honor to talk to you. I noticed that you're wearing a necklace with a picture on it.
Yes.
Who is that?
This is my mother, and this is one of my grandmothers, and then I have my other grandmother on the back.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. So tell me about your mother. I know that in reading about her, she was a very influential, positively influential person in your life.
Oh, definitely. Like, it was me, my mother, and my brother. Very, I think now I would call it strict, but I think she just was really trying to guide me and my brother in the right direction to make sure we made good decisions in life. Hard working, got up early in the morning, left like 5 in the morning. We might not see her again till 5 at night, but from that time, she would take me and my brother to music lessons. Like, I played the piano at a very early age. Me and my brother knew how to play all brass instruments. So she used to take us downtown, actually, from the west side of Chicago to Lyon and Healy, which was the music teacher was at. Spent a lot of time with me and my brother, and the little time that she did have off from work, moved us to the north side to try to get us to a different environment and a more culturally diverse environment where we'd get to be able to communicate and be around different types of people as opposed to just your own people.
I remember reading that I think you were 2 years old when your parents got divorced, right?
Yeah.
And so then it was your mother and you and your brother and on the north side. And how did you like that area overall?
I actually gravitated to the north side quickly because I was in school up there. So I made friends. My brother was actually going to Whitney Young, one of the better schools in the city. And so he was getting on the train every day and going to school. But I actually got to mingle with the kids from the community.
So 6th grade is when you guys moved up there and something tragic happens in your teenage years.
Yes. When I was 16, I was a sophomore or maybe a junior in high school. And my brother had just left the house for the first time and went away to college. He was down in Carbondale at SIU. And like suddenly my mother got sick and no one could really figure out what was going on because it was really just she was throwing up. She couldn't eat stuff. She couldn't drink stuff. So we think it is just like a virus or something going on with her stomach. I go to school that day like a normal day. I come home to a note on our living room table telling me on Sonic to the hospital. And I think that's when it really hit me that something was bad. It wasn't as uh, light as I may have thought. And then I think I left again, and I just broke down on the side of the school crying. And one of my friends was like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "Man, there's something wrong with my mother, but they won't tell me, right?" So we go back to the school, play basketball, and my energy was off. Like I think I got into it with one of my friends on the basketball court. And from there, I just like jumped the gate and ran back to the hospital. And I got there that time she had passed. And like
Oh,
crying in the lobby, and I'm like, and the weirdest part I think for me is like when I got there, she was alive. They would not let me see her. When I came back that last time and she had passed, they actually let me go up at 16, and I could see her laying on the bed. Like it was like they hadn't cleaned her up or anything, so it was blood on her face. There was different things of that nature, right? Um, that's one of the pictures of her that sticks with me to this day. Yeah.
and that's a haunting image too. So, how did you cope with that?
Um, I think I keep going back to being 16 because I definitely coped with it like a child.
Yeah.
Like I became angry, didn't really understand it because my mother was only 38 years old.
Young.
Um, and she was like one of the more beautiful people in my family. Like this was a lady that got up and went to work every day. She didn't swear. She didn't do a lot of things. Like
Yeah.
didn't start drinking until she was probably 34, 35, right?
Wow.
Um, so I just like couldn't wrap my mind around why her.
Right.
And so I started fighting a lot. Like I felt like I had to protect myself now. Like I was a very respectful kid. Like I didn't raise my voice around grown-ups, didn't swear around grown-ups. And a lot of that changed for me because I felt like she wasn't there to protect me and I didn't want nobody else telling me what to do other than her. So I started to rebel against a lot of positive direction that was in my life. Um, and just trying to rationalize like I felt like I was my parent then. Like I had nobody
Absolutely.
else to run to fight my battles with older people. So I started to try to fight them myself.
Yeah.
Like even with teachers, like I was being disrespectful, not doing what they asked me to do in school because I felt like I have to speak up for me now. She's not here anymore. And it kind of led me down the wrong path as far as instruction and being taught certain things.
So, who was guiding you at that time? Was there anyone?
Well, my mother had four sisters and my dad had five sisters. So I was raised by nine aunts. So that was a debate about who I was going to go stay with. The aunt that was staying with us, my mother's oldest sister, she wanted to take me, which was the person I was more comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
But the family didn't want her to take me because all of her kids had been to the penitentiary already. Uh,
Interesting.
and and were mostly drug addicts as well, right? So they like, oh no, you're not going with her, right? But this was my favorite auntie, and I think
Okay.
I went down that path with her. But so I ended up with a cousin who didn't have any kids, and you're dropping a 16-year-old young man into her life. And I don't think at that time I understood what she was trying to do, but I've apologized to her in recent years about rebelling against her instructions too, because I now understand that she was really trying to help me. But as a kid, I didn't. I didn't want to do anything that she asked me to do, and I was doing a lot of things the wrong way. And now when I look back on it, like I love her to death because I do understand what she was attempting to do at that
Mm.
time. But I also think too, like, and she'll even admit it, like she didn't have the playbook either because she didn't have kids, and she was probably almost 40 at that time.
Oh, wow.
It was new for her too, so it was a new experience for both of us.
Mm-hmm. So, when you did start to rebel, though, I remember you also saying that you had some run-ins with the law, right? So,
Yes.
during that time, did you ever hear your mother's voice pop in your head and say, "What are you doing? This isn't for you"?
Um, at 16, and that's the first time I've ever been asked that question, I would have to say no.
Okay.
Because I definitely knew right from wrong. But I think one of the bad things that we do in our households as a black community is we tell kids you're the man of the house when they're really a kid. And I think I had got that mentality, like, I'm the man now. So I was making what I thought was grown up decisions, but I was making it from an adolescent state, from a kid state of mind. And so I never really heard that voice on my shoulder, like, hey, what are you doing? Right. And I started to buy into the fact that I thought the things I was doing was right.
Okay.
That was what I was supposed to be doing.
Okay. That makes sense to me because now you have a sense of responsibility, and
Yes.
now you got to take care of yourself. So you have to figure it out and do what it takes.
Hmm. My mother was like the sole disciplinarian for me and my brother. Like, my grandmothers could have disciplined us if they wanted to, and probably some of our aunts and cousins, but they never did because we wasn't those type of kids because we knew how to act when we went somewhere.
So for people who don't know Chicago, which is not me, but for people who don't know Chicago, what
Yes.
was it like growing up on the West Side in the early 90s, environment wise?
For me, it's ironic, but I was born in a neighborhood where one of the biggest street gangs was formed, where the Vice Lords was formed, that I was born
Yeah.
in the heart of that neighborhood. So it's called what they call the Holy City. Like, our whole family was in that neighborhood. So I saw a lot of the what started out as like Black Power movements and people trying to protect their communities. But then I also started to see when the drugs started to infest our communities and break down some of the strong men that we did have in our communities, right? And so for us, like, a lot of the things we looked up to were negative things, like people who had fancy cars, who had flashy jewelry, who had some money, or who's doing this. And so, like, growing up in that neighborhood, it was very close knit, somewhat family oriented because we all knew each other. Like, all the kids knew each other, the parents knew each other. We had one or two friends who had a dad in the house, and he became like the neighborhood dad. And anybody to say anything to their kid,
Yeah.
and it's like, your kid do stuff when you're not around. So how do you not understand that? Because they're kids.
Right.
But the community was very close. Like, law enforcement came from our community. I have cousins who became Chicago police that still lived in our neighborhood. Um, so the picture, it was a beautiful picture. It was family oriented. Wasn't that many dads in the community though. So a lot of us young men that was growing up, we were learning a lot of things from women. But I enjoyed it because I had the privilege of my mom's family staying on one block and my dad's entire family was on the next block.
Yeah.
So my whole family on both sides was right there where I could walk back and forth to their houses every day.
That's perfect. We're at the point where your mother passed away and you were having some run-ins with the law. Tell me about
Yeah.
that.
I still remember my first run in with the law. My mother used to tell me and my brother, like, that she was a avid citizen. Like, she didn't break the law. She didn't do none of that stuff, right? So
She wasn't even drinking yet.
she's like, oh, yeah, don't call me. And so we used to be scared to, like, get in trouble, right?
Right.
One day, me and my friends were walking down Belmont, which is in the Lakeview area on the north side,
Yep.
and the police pulled us over for curfew.
Okay.
And they took us to the police station. My mother beat me to the police station. Like, one of my friends ran and must have told her the police got him. But this is the same lady that said, don't call her if I go to jail, right? When we pulled up, she was in her robe and her bonnet, and what y'all doing with my baby? Right? So I'm already scared because I know I'm in trouble for even being in this police car, right? But she was really trying to just instill those fear factors in us. Like, at 18, you're leaving here. You're either going to college or you're going to the military, but you're going somewhere. And so that was my first run-in with the law, was a curfew violation. My next run-in was right after she passed. We grew up in a community where it was probably 8 to 9 Black families in the whole community, and we all gravitated to each other. And at some point, my friends started, like, breaking in cars, stealing, like, gym bags and radios, and people leave a radio in there, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, my friends, and I mean, like, anything I say on this is the honest to God truth. Like, I had nothing to do with it. But my friends took this stuff, they left the neighborhood. So when the police grabbed me and they charged me with it, right? But I was 16 then, so I was a juvenile. So I ended up, wanting to say, with juvenile probation or something for that. So I never saw the inside of the Adi home. Like I went to court, went straight home, never went to jail on that one. And from there, with the fighting stuff, we used to fight people from different neighborhoods. And I had started catching these, what they were calling strong arm robberies. But they weren't robberies. We'd get to fighting and the guy might drop his hat. And we'd
Okay.
keep that. And when the police come, the guy tell them we the ones he was fighting and they'll charge us with a robbery. Like we set out to target this baseball cap from this one guy, right? Yeah, one of them I want to say was about a jacket where a guy ran up out his jacket and my friends decided we keeping it, right? So it was those type of cases. And my mother had passed by then and I caught like 3 of those back to back. Like they would give me an aggravated battery with a robbery, which will make it a strong arm robbery. Then my last case before I went to boot camp, we go out to the club one night and we had at this time got into the petty drug selling business. So some of my friends that was with me, we ended up getting a hotel room and we stayed out. They were trying to go buy some drugs that night. And I'm telling them, don't buy them until I leave because I'm out on bond already for all the stuff that I had over the last few months. And I woke up to the police kicking the hotel door in. And they had went while I was sleeping, got some drugs and brought them back to the room. And I ended up with that case. And so when they did the background checks, I was the only one really with open cases. So they gave the drugs to me. like, okay, this is your stuff. Since you're the one that got all these cases, we're going to give it to him. And that was the cases that I ended up going to boot camp on in 91.
Man, that was in 91. Yep. So then what was boot camp like?
I actually had fun down there.
Okay.
I was a somewhat athletic kid anyway. So a lot of the stuff they was doing didn't really bother me.
Okay.
So I did my 4 months, but it was stuff going on because I did 14 months total. And it's the first time that I think I was ever really scared in jail. This guy came in and they like rushed him through the process and threw him in the cell. So as I'm talking to him, me thinking I'm a gang member at the time, he said he's a vice lord. So I'm like, I tell the SARS that I know, like, hey, you put me in the cell and let me talk to him. So I'm in here talking to the guy. And at this time, I got 4 months before I go home, right? And I'm asking, like, what you here for? The man had like 5 murders and like 3 natural lives. Now, the door is locked. I'm inside the cell with him now, right? And I'm like, whoa. Like, what am I doing in here with this man, right? He was one of the most humble people I've ever met. And he was just talking about what he went through and how he landed where he was at. And so I ended up leaving out the cell, I was making the trade, so I fed him some extra food, talked to him a little more from the outside the door now. But it was eye-opening for me because it showed me that guys do really get that type of time. Because at this time, I'm a kid that had never really been in no trouble that could take your life away from you.
Right.
So that conversation always sat with me. I ended up coming home. I went from July of 91. I came home around August of 92. At this time, both of my kids was born. My son was born in December of 91. My daughter was born in March of 92. So I went home to 2 little babies and getting to know them a little bit. Stay out for 3.5, almost 4 months before the stuff happened with us being away for the extended period of time.
So when you were out of boot camp during those few months that you were out for, especially on the heels of that eye-opening conversation you have, did you have any new perspective on where you wanted your life to go now?
No.
Okay.
And I say that because it was definitely coming from a kid's perspective. Like, as I sit here today, I understand like where my life went off track at. But I couldn't tell you this 30 years ago. I couldn't tell you 30 years ago. This is because I didn't think my life was off track. So when I came home, like I went right back to the neighborhood, went back around the petty hustling.
Yeah.
Right back in the mix around the guys, but I'm definitely, and I don't think I think both of my kids' mothers could attest to I love my kids and I was spending time with them as well, but I was finding more time to do other things. And then I think I was telling myself this lie that I hustle and I do the things I do for my kids.
Okay.
And then you come home and the streets is moving every day. Everything's fast and quick. So I was just trying to catch up from them 14 months I was gone. And before I knew it, we were in an interrogation room being questioned about a double murder and a home invasion and armed robbery.
So we'll get into this. So take me back to the morning of December 2nd, 1992. You know, do you remember how that day started?
I could actually go back. I want to say the murder happened on November 16th.
Mm-hmm.
That's all starts to like, I could really put it together. Like the second was like a regular day for me. But the 16th, when all that stuff happened, on the 17th, my parole officer, because I was on house arrest from coming home from boot camp,
Oh, okay.
showed up at my house. And he was talking about absolutely nothing about the murder, but there was also a drug raid that happened down the street from where the murder happened at. And I walked in on that raid, and the police were already in there. But I'm thinking, this is my friend's house. So I go knock on the door, not knowing that the police were in there. I'm thinking all the police are down here focused on this homicide investigation.
I see.
And they snatched me in there. So they put in some paperwork saying that I was apprehended at a crack house. So he pops up and he's threatening me with taking a drop and seeing if I got drugs in my system, because those are all violations. But I don't drink or get high, so I didn't really care about that, right? So I'm like, man, I wasn't in no crack house doing crack. Like, what are we talking about, right? Like, she was in the crack house and this and that. So stay at home, don't move. If you move again, I'm gonna send you to jail. Because mind you, I had that box on, but I was never in the house. Like I was never in compliance with my curfew, because at that time it wasn't that strict. It was always up to your agent if they're gonna violate you or not.
Yep.
And so I want to say for the next week until Thanksgiving of that year, I stayed home. I didn't come back out. I came out on Thanksgiving, and I'm going back to the police station again. That night, my friend's mother got charged with those drugs. It was in her apartment, and her kids put it there. I didn't put it there. So she's telling them that it's her son, Deon stuff. So the police, when they take me in the room and they ask me what's my name, I tell them Deon Patrick. They run out and grab the drugs and come back in the room like, is this yours? And I'm like, nah.
Right.
They like, their mother's in the back saying it's your stuff. I tell them my mother's in the back. We all need to get out of here because my mother's dead. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? So they come back with the lady and she like, no, that's not my son. That's Big Deon. My son is Little Deon. He comes to the police station that night. He don't know I'm there. I could hear him in the other room telling the police that's my stuff. But he has no clue that I'm at this police station, right? So they couldn't charge me, so they let me go from off Addison and Hostage. So I walk over a block to Broadway, get on the phone and call my friend Rodney Matthews. And I'm like, what Lil Deon at? He like, he just called me. He said he just got out of jail. I'm like, yeah, he did. He just left him down there telling them people that's my stuff, right? So Rodney like, what? Where you leaving from? I'm like, I'm on Addison and Broadway now. I'm finna come to your house. So he calls him on the three-way, asks him, did he see me down there? He said, no, which he didn't. So I'm being me want to fight now. So I'm like, when I catch you, I'm beating you up. Don't even worry about it. So he hiding from me all the way until Thanksgiving. I see him on Thanksgiving. He take off and I chase him a little bit. He get away. December the 2nd was probably like 3-4 days after that. So like I said, it was like a normal day. I lived in a building with my dad's mother owned a building. It was all family in that building, in every apartment. It was a 2-floor front, first and second floor front, a basement apartment, and a second, and a back apartment, first and second floor. I stayed in the first floor rear. My grandmother used to always come through the door, through the hall, and bring me breakfast and stuff. Cause I had these things for a reason. Like I was really like a mama's boy, grandmother's boy. Like these ladies really took care of me, right? My cousins tease me to this day because my grandmother used to bake. She'd bake old cakes and tell people, don't touch that one, that's Deon cake. And they hate They like, why he can't get his own cake, right? So, like, these were really like instrumental ladies in my life, right? So, we came and we did the same thing we do every day. Late on that night, one of my friends who had got paralyzed, because I had a group of friends that hung in Cabrini Green too at the time, and he had got sniped and got shot in his back, so he was barely walking. I used to go get him and bring him to my house so he could just be outside of his house and hang around me. I go get him at my house one day, and my cousin is having company because I was sharing that apartment with a female cousin that's about my age. So I don't know these guys because they from her neighborhood. So I'm in the room and I can just hear her coming through the hall saying, Deon, somebody here to see you. When I step out my bedroom door, homicide is in the house.
And that's at night.
Yes, this is probably around 11:30, 12 at night. I really don't remember what all happened that day, other than it just being a normal day.
Mm.
So when they grab me, I'm thinking they're from my parole agent, and he's saying I violated my parole, and they're going to take me to IDOC. So when I stepped out, they like, you Deon Patrick? I'm like, yes. They like, where's your coat? I'm like, why? They like, where's your coat? One of my little cousins that stayed upstairs had wore my coat to the store. So I'm like, I think my cousin got it. So they go in the room and they grab a coat. They're like, it's your coat? I'm like, yeah. They take it with us. So we get in the car and my grandmother asked them where they're taking me. Because earlier I said I have family members who were law enforcement. I have an aunt and a couple of cousins.
Right.
So she tried to call my aunt so she can go follow up and check on me and see what's going on. They lied to her and told her they were taking me to 26 in California, but they took me to Belmont and Western. So my aunt can't find me because she don't know where they took me to. So when we get in the car, they drive off about 4 or 5 blocks. They pull over at the light. They like, you know who we are? And they said, take a guess. I said gang crime. Like, I'm like, I don't know, like gang crime or parole officers. They like, no, we homicide. Like, what's wrong with me?
Right.
They like, well, your friends are down at the police station saying you killed those 2 people on Agatite. I'm like, man, I don't have no friends. And I definitely don't have no friends if they telling you that, right? So he like, they stop talking, they drive off. And I'm in my mind, I'm knowing they playing with me. Like, they have to be playing, right? So I get down there, they throw me in the room. Unbeknownst to me, I don't know who all was there already because I didn't see everybody and they never told me who was there. So they come in my room, and this might be going over into December the 3rd, and they're steady talking to me about what people are saying in other rooms. And I'm like, you ain't for real. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Do I know about the case? Yeah, because it happened on a block that we hang on every day. But I know nothing about what happened in that house or who was in there.
Right.
And so now it gets to the point where they're bringing court reported statements in my room, showing me what the other guys just said.
Mm-hmm.
So now I can see the names on there, and lo and behold, it's Lil Deon, who's already mad at me because he think I'm trying to beat him up when I catch him, right?
Right.
They done got him somewhere and got him to, hey, you can get out of that butt kicking if you send him to jail. Like, say he did X, Y, Z, and we'll make sure you don't see this guy. But they're not telling him that they're going to charge him with it too.
I'm going to read you something that I found in your appeal. And it says, detectives interrogated, this is about you, detectives interrogated him on and off for almost 30 hours. He was given no food and drink and was not allowed to sleep. He was handcuffed to the wall. The detectives periodically kicked the chair away from him so he could not sit. They ignored his requests to speak to a lawyer, whom he identified by name. They told him he would get the death penalty. They threatened to use force and led him to believe they were abusing Matthews, who was screaming in a nearby interrogation room. They told Patrick that his friends had given him up, and they brought Taylor into the room and made him implicate Patrick face to face. They falsely told Patrick that he had been identified in the lineup. So the whole time that all this is happening, knowing none of this is real, what is going through your mind?
it got so bad for me. Like I started questioning myself in that room.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was asking myself, like, man, did you do this? Like, why are so many people saying that this happened, right? Because those tactics that you just read off, they're trained in those tactics. We're young street savvy kids that don't really know nothing about interrogation tactics. And so it was getting to the point where I kept reverting back to you don't get high, you don't drink. So I know you didn't black out and don't remember what's
Right.
going on. But it was getting that bad on me where I just started to really question myself, like, where were you that day? Like, what happened? So now I'm going back through some of that stuff, like they put us in a lineup with this lady named Faye McCoy, who was a community activist in the neighborhood. They wrote in their report that she refused to identify anybody because she was scared. When she actually told them, I know them little boys. That's not who I saw come up out of that apartment. So when they do that, they come back in the room and tell us that we were ID'd, which we were, as being known. Like I know him, I know him, I know him, I know him. But she never ID'd us as the people she saw coming out of that apartment. So they were just twisting a lot of stuff. Matthews, for instance, that was my best friend. He ended up at the police station because they asked me where I was at that night. I was at his sister's house with him watching the football game. So I told them that, and an hour later, I hear him coming in there screaming. So I stopped trying to get him an alibi because I started to notice that every alibi I gave them, they found a role for them on the case. And they was putting them on the case, so that would take away that alibi for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, he gets in the room, all he doing is yelling. So I'm thinking they over there beating him. So then they'll bust in my room, and I'll be like, what are y'all doing to him? They like, what we gonna do to you next, and this and that. I get downstairs with this man and find out they wasn't even in the room with him when he was yelling. He just was yelling. And I'm like, what was he yelling for? He like, now I was trying to get them to come in there and talk to me to figure out why I'm here. But it sounded like they're beating him over there. My friend Joseph Brown, he passed away, I want to say in like 2011, but from natural causes or some illness he had. He has an OPS report where they put a gun in his mouth and told him they could make it look like an accident. Because when they got through with us, me, Rodney Matthews, and Joseph Brown were the only three that didn't have court reported statements. They hand wrote our statements themselves and said that signed it, which unfortunately we did, right? But everybody else sat in front of a court report and just regurgitated whatever information they gave them and said it back to them. They couldn't get us to do it. So they was like, look, we'll just write them some statements and we'll send them on their way. But Joseph Brown said that from the day he hit the police station that them people put a gun in my mouth and said they can make it look like an accident if I don't tell them what they're telling me or I don't sign this paper.
Yeah. So just to go back a little bit before this, you had to sign a confession.
Yes.
They wrote that confession.
Yes.
What did it feel like to sign that?
I think even now, like it breaks my heart because I know I shouldn't have. But I think I just was so fed up with being in that room, and them 28 to 30 hours seemed like 30 days.
Yeah, I bet.
It seemed like it because I didn't have a watch. There's no windows in the room, so you don't know if it's day or night. You trying to sleep. Every time you go to sleep, they're waking you up. They're not feeding you. They're not doing this. So I think, like for me, I just got to the point where I'm like, let's get out of this room and tell our story to somebody else because they're not listening.
Yep.
And it don't just to stay here with them. And then they present it as a handwritten statement by me.
Yeah. So then that's what I was wondering is after you signed it, and you go to trial, what did you think was going to happen?
Honestly, I thought it was components to being convicted of murder. I felt like they had to have physical evidence, they had to have a motive, and they had to have things of that nature. So I'm thinking I will never get convicted with just this piece of paper, right? And when I went to trial and got convicted, it taught me that the same rules don't apply to everybody.
Nope.
Like a lot of people would probably never get convicted with that. Like, and I sat back because I got to the joint in 95. and I watched OJ trial, and I was saying to myself, how did I go to jail for this little piece of evidence? And this man, they created hundreds of pieces of evidence saying he did something.
Right.
And he was found not guilty. So I think I had just convinced myself that I didn't want to stay there a minute longer. Yeah. And it was so bad, like they took me downstairs and booked me into booking. Rodney Matthews still hadn't agreed to sign his, nor did Joseph Brown. They brought me back upstairs to talk to them. So I'm talking to Rodney. The first thing he said when I come in the room, like, man, why would you sign that, man? You know that's not what happened. And I'm like, man, I'm tired, bro. Like, we're not going home. Like, what did we stand here for? For them to keep abusing us? Because at this time, I'm still thinking they didn't beat him. So him being my friend and trusting me, he signed. So I go over to Joseph Brown room. I can see the fear in his eyes, but I don't really know what all happened to him in there. And I'm like, man, you might as well come out this room. Let's just go to the county, get in front of a different group of people and tell our story, bro. Like, we're not leaving here. He signed it as well. But the irony in that is Joseph Brown and Rodney Matthews beat it. That paper wasn't enough to convict them.
Wow.
They went home in 95 and beat their cases out. So I think like that was the one thing for me, like I'm trying to make sense of it. And I'm like, this can't be enough because it's not true. It don't even add up to what's supposed to happen that night. Because they saying that our co-defendants was lookouts and they put them on these corners. And on these corners, they said they could see us come out the door. You can't see the door from that corner. So how could he come out of there? So it was just a lot of things that didn't add up that I thought was going to make a difference that really didn't make a difference.
Interesting. I didn't know that part actually about you telling them to go ahead and sign and they actually beat it. So in hindsight, that was actually great advice that you gave them.
Because they wasn't leaving that room no way. They continued to be abused and tortured in that room or whatever.
It didn't work for you, but it worked for them.
The judge told me in my sentencing that why he didn't give me the death penalty. And he told me he didn't give me the death penalty because he didn't feel like they crossed every T and dotted every I. So why give me natural life then? Or why even let this conviction stand if you don't feel it? And it's in my transcripts, his language when he said that, right? So I'm like, are you serious? And then he also stated that if you give me the death penalty, I'm gonna have fanatics from everywhere that don't believe in the death penalty putting up money to help me get a new trial. And he didn't want me to come back that fast. So he really was saying, I know you're coming back. I just don't want it to be that fast. I want you to go sit down somewhere, right? But when I heard it, I think I was prepared for it because I already knew I couldn't get nothing but the death penalty or natural life. The guilty verdict probably hit me the hardest. But I didn't cry at that. Like when they said it, I got up, I walked off, I went back to the housing unit I was in, and at the time, me and Rodney Matthews was cellmates. And he was like, Tim, you going home? And I'm like, they found me guilty, but I'm also trying to get to the phone so I can call my grandmother and call my kids. So I leave out the room, go get on the phone. Still had to cry because I'm trying to keep them together. Get back in the room, he's crying. And he talking about he don't want to go home no more. He like, man, you ain't going home, I don't want to go home. And I'm telling him, I don't need you here with me. I need you to go home so I can continue to prove my innocence. Like, what you staying here for?
Right.
He actually beat it 7 days later from the day we had the conversation. He went to trial the next week. And he went home that day. But that made me cry, though, to see him crying, because then it really started to set in, like, this stuff is real now. But when I went to get my time, like, I had already prepared myself to go into a very bad place as far as the penitentiary and the things that happened there. So I had hardened myself to the point, like, ain't no more crime. Like, we don't have no eye water. We just gonna go down here and we gonna do whatever it takes to survive. Because I'm not letting nobody do nothing to me. And that's just why I got with it, like, and I did my time like that.
What did you do to survive?
Man, it's crazy because I didn't see the law library till 98. I got there in 95. And you had to focus on staying alive more than trying to go home when I first got there, because when I got there, the joint was wide open. So it could be 500 wolves on 1 yard. And everybody got their knife, everybody got their stuff that they need to protect themselves. And it was that type of environment. Was it a lot of respect down there? Yeah, because people knew if it happened, people gonna die. So people watch their mouth, they watch how they talk to people, how they handle people. But I think for me, I took this lifestyle redirection course in there, and I had made a statement one day, and I was telling how I think everybody in there is living a facade, because nobody's really a evil, terrible person. And I think we be acting a lot when we do that stuff because we're trying to get by and navigate the real evil and terrible people, right? And we don't ever want to show them any signs of weakness where they try to prey on us. So I think for me, I became like this big brother to all the young guys that was coming through there, making sure that nobody play with them. And hey, come over here, don't be in his room, because there was some old guys in there that still was playing them old games. And it's like, what is you in there for? Oh, he my friend. That's not your friend. That man 30, 40 years older than you. Stay away from him, right? So just teaching guys how to navigate the system in there. And then like I don't think, like I tell people too, like my life didn't change until the day I walked out of there. I was still doing my time as if I had that life. Like the week before I came home, like it was an incident down in Menard where a guy got sent to protective custody for some stuff that he had did that was like unacceptable. He was putting my name in it with another guy, saying we the ones that made him have to leave.
Mm.
So the day they came to get me, I thought I was on my way to segregation, to the hole. From that incident, they was like, pack your stuff, we're going home. And I'm like, what? But it was still where I was moving as if I had natural life and I wasn't ever coming home. Even though I still had that hope of coming home, like I didn't change how I did my time and how I navigated the prison process.
Right. In your book, you mentioned that hope can, I can't remember the exact words you used, but it can be a great thing, but also it can be a dangerous thing. It can be a burden, is what you said.
Yeah, because we saw this roller coaster. Because you had these high highs where you think you're finna go, then you'll hit this low low where they deny you.
Right.
And you got to start all over again, right? And I never for once believed that I was going to die in there. But that was one of my biggest fears, and that was added to my prayers every night. Please don't let me die in jail for something I didn't do. And now that I know, like, that's not going to happen, like, I feel like my life is fulfilled now. Because whatever the outcome is for me now, I can live with it. Like, I'm fine.
That's powerful. That's very powerful. You never allowed yourself to not believe that you weren't going home.
No, never,
That's
not
powerful.
enough.
Did you have family support while you were in there too?
Yes and no. I'm going to say yes to, they picked up the phone, they might send 10, 20, but I didn't ask my family for a lot of money either, because I also felt like I wasn't getting in trouble with my family. So I called the people that I was getting in trouble with for, hey, send me some money. Like, so I just didn't put that pressure on my grandmothers and aunts and stuff, right? And when I say no, like I don't have a family member that chased down an affidavit or helped me find a witness or helped me do it. I did a lot of that stuff on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Through phone calls and finding people that I needed to find, right? I think my family always, let me say this, I think half of my family believed in me. And my part that was law enforcement, I think they didn't believe in me. And I think like my brother has this running joke that he tells now, right? He used to go visit my family while I was in jail. And he used to always talk about when my brother come home. And when I came home, they told him, they used to always look at him like, after he leave, they'll tell each other like, he do know he got natural life. What is he talking about when he come home, right? But my brother knew from what I was telling him, I'm coming home. So, and we laugh about that now because some people thought I was never coming home.
Yeah.
And my family, like some of them really probably had bought into, if this what they say he did it.
Sometimes I also wonder too, if it's like a coping mechanism of, resolve, like I should just resolve that he's there forever instead of having hope. Because hope, like you said, is a burden that sometimes people can't cope with.
And then you have those who just believe in the system.
Absolutely.
And you have us that know the system is broke. I don't think it should be discarded, but I know it's broke. It's not a perfect system, which nothing in life is perfect, right?
No, it's not. Did you ever feel like, why me?
I always felt like, why me? But then too, I have to admit, like, I got to a point in life where I was like, why not me? Because I know it's people out here going through much worse than I've ever been through, right? And I used to tell people too, like one of my friends calls me on this a lot because I seen him in jail and I told him like, at a point in my life, I felt like I was having a misunderstanding with God. Like, I don't know what's going on right now. I lost my mother at 16. Don't know. I done got through in this situation. Don't know why. So we're not seeing eye to eye right now. So, and he used to be like, he took that as I was saying I didn't believe in God.
Right.
When I really believe in God, I'm just trying to understand why is all this happening to me.
Right.
And, but now I look back on stuff and I know too, like, I was a very poor manager of my life and my time. And I put myself in situations for people to pluck me out of there and do certain things to me. Because if I was on a college campus somewhere, I wouldn't have been nowhere around that neighborhood. I know too, like I made a lot of poor decisions in life and those were outcomes of it, but I'm also okay with that because it made the man that sits before you today. And when
Absolutely.
earlier about did I ever hear my mother saying, "What are you doing?" When I go see her now, I ask her, is she proud of the man that I am today? Because I know I've let her down so many times that I sit back and I be like, I hope you're proud of what you see now because I'm different now. I don't think the same. I see life differently. And I come from a very humanitarian standpoint. Like, I believe everybody deserves peace in their life and nobody should be hurting them. So nobody should be abusing them. Like, so I'm just different now than the way my mind was set up back then.
In 2013, you are exonerated.
Yes, I've been fully exonerated. My conviction has been vacated. I have my certificate of innocence and my vacate order. I have a plaque on my wall here that I look at practically every day. So that case is fully removed from my background.
So tell me how that happened, because I know it started with Daniel Taylor.
Yeah, we were both in the process of filing things, and it was a shock to him too. Like, because we were in the same penitentiary, but we weren't in the same cell house. So I hear him coming up the stairs one day, and he yelling my name. So I'm like, "What are you doing over here, right?" But the officer let him come and say bye to me. So when he gets to go, he like, "Man, I'm up." I'm like, "You up?" He like, "Yeah, I'm going home." I'm like, "Man," he like, "Today, right now." So it was kind of, it wasn't bittersweet. It was probably sweet bitter for me because I was happy for him, but I was a little bit bitter that I still had to be there. So he like, "Man, turn on the news, watch the news." As soon as he left my door, like I pulled my legal boxes out, put all my stuff on my bed and started looking over it. And I told Marcelli then, I said, 6 months to a year from now, I'm gonna be at home. He went home in July 2013. I went home January 2014.
Just like you said.
Man, and it's so ironic. Like that day, I got legal mail from my lawyers. They was about to file a petition, but with no knowledge that Daniel was going home. So, and then I get another letter from an attorney who abandoned us over the years, including Daniel. Tell me, do I need an attorney now? Absolutely not. I need an attorney.
If so, definitely not you.
Exactly. So my lawyers told me, disregard that petition. They putting something in adding the fact that they just vacated Daniel's conviction. And then right that week, Steve Mills, who was a reporter from the Chicago Tribune that had wrote for the last, we met Steve Mills in 98. And he wrote for us all the way up until the day I came home. He came to see me that week and did a live interview with me and Menard about how do I feel seeing Daniel go home and this and that. And I'm telling him like, man, I'm happy as heck for Daniel. Like, I can't sit on here and play like I'm mad to be home and I'm not. Like, I have my stuff that I still have to deal with, and I plan on dealing with it. I will be home.
Everyone talks about how traumatic the transition is from being incarcerated to being out in the world. What was that process like for you?
I think my family made it kind of easy for me. Like, I have a big family. Like, and I could say, like, I don't feel no one was there like I feel like my mother would have been there. But since I've been home, since the day I've been home, like my family has been very instrumental in helping me readapt and get reacclimated to this stuff. Like they was just here for my brother's birthday around September 29th. Like we come from a family. It's just when we lost our grandmothers, like a lot of people went their separate ways. But a lot of us that have something positive going on in our life, we still get together. And like they help me with housing,
Oh, that's
getting my
beautiful.
uh, everything that I needed when I came home. I cannot complain. It was there for me, and it was just on me to get up and do it. So I was fine when I came home.
That's great. That's best case scenario for sure. So
Mhm.
you wanted justice for the crime, right? That was perpetrated against you. How did you go about getting it?
Um, I didn't get the justice that I wanted because I want to see them go to jail, and I
Absolutely.
still push that narrative. Now, if I get a chance to speak to legislators, I want to talk about what is their punishment for doing it.
Right.
So for blatant doing, if they make a mistake, I understand,
Right.
but when they prove that they blatantly did certain things, they should go to
Absolutely.
jail because these guys walk away with a pension and everything
Yeah.
and still get to live their normal life. So the only recourse I got was being able to sue the city and winning a civil suit, but I don't feel bad about it because I wouldn't give back anything, right? The bad part I feel about it is that comes out of the taxpayers' money. And I want to say I was the first one that was awarded some of their pension as well because we went for that. Like, no, we want his stuff. Like, we
Right.
want what we don't get, but we definitely want him to feel it too, right? And so I did get a small reward out of that, but it was like just to show them that you're not going to keep getting away with stuff. They do this stuff and there's no recourse for them. Like there's no sense of what happens to them. I think that's like the one thing that I want to see one day is for them to truly be held accountable
Right.
for things that they do. And I think like to them, like they look at some of us as throwaways because it's stuff and our stuff with Daniel. Daniel was awarded a state. They were telling people that they were getting a lie at the grand jury. Nobody cares about him.
Right.
He's awarded a state. He don't got no family. You can say what you want to say about this kid. Nobody's gonna miss him. And that stuff started to come out as we came home. One guy did a deposition. He was breaking down crying because he felt so bad about what he had did, but he was also on his deathbed. So I think he was trying to get right with God too before he transitioned.
Mm.
But it's like you took 20 years of this man's life, right?
Right.
You took 20 years of my life. And this is what we get is a I'm sorry. And we don't even get that from the city or police department. We get that from the witnesses that may have came forward and lied on us and did certain things, but the people who actually perpetrated the crime, you don't get it.
Right.
And one more thing with that, like I want to say something to regards to my brother Lewis Gardner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lewis was 15 years old, and this kid still struggles with. He feel like it's his fault that we went through that because he was the first person that testified. And I mean, he drinks heavily. He's secluded himself to a room. Like his life is just, and we've talked to him and told, I don't blame Lewis for anything, right? But he beats himself up every day. His wife calls us sometimes, somehow this man cries himself to sleep because he feels like he's the reason that we went through what we went through. And this is a 15-year-old kid that had an IQ of like 67. And y'all took this man in this room, y'all did this to him, and now he's living with this for the rest of his life. But we've definitely been reaching out to him more and trying to get him to understand, like, come on, you with us. Like, I've never seen him as the person who did anything to me. And I just want to make that clear.
Absolutely. It's incredibly heartbreaking not only to steal years of a person's life, but then the guilt that he is living with when he shouldn't be living with that in the first place anyway, because it wasn't him that put him in that
Exactly.
situation or put any of y'all in that situation.
Right.
So what's interesting to me too is that you mentioned a lot actually that Chicago is the wrongfully convicted capital of the world. It's one of my
Hmm.
favorite things that you said because being from there too, it's not something we want to be known for.
Hmm.
Where do you think that comes from?
I think it comes from initially Chicago. It's like a melting pot, right? But it's probably one of the most racist cities in America, if not the most racist. Because when you come there, everybody has their own communities. We don't really live together like that. Like you're gonna have little village where the Mexicans at. You're gonna have Humboldt Park where most of the Puerto Ricans at. You're gonna have Greek Town. You're gonna have Chinatown. You're gonna have all these different towns where certain people are. And I think they had horrible leadership. And then you had John Burge that was doing what he was doing back in the day, torturing guys. And a lot of those guys ended up on death row. Some of them died. And then they allowed this man to teach his tactics to incoming homicide detectives. So I think like Chicago just has let law enforcement get away with so much. And now it's become like a occupied territory because most of the officers in black and brown communities don't come from those communities. And they come from like Bridgeport and stuff where they were taught to not even like those communities. And coming in with this thing where they're really just trying to dominate people and those areas.
Yeah, because you have mentioned that Daniel Taylor, they had evidence that he was actually in jail at the time that the crime happened. So there's no way he could have done it. And it wasn't until 19 years later that you knew that they actually had that evidence the whole time. So,
and they didn't get us. It's so crazy. The way we came about it was, if that didn't come out, we'll probably still be sitting there. His lawyers from Northwestern filed a writ of habeas corpus with the Attorney General's office. And the lady from the Attorney General's office, her name was Susie Wong. She was an assistant Attorney General. She sent him a letter and said, I'm not responding to this until I send y'all this paperwork, because there ain't no lawyer in their right mind had this and didn't use it. Because she asked them for every piece of paper they had on our case over the years. What Chicago does, they had this official file, and then they had what they call the street file. The street file is everything that they obtain. The official file is what the police and the state's attorneys decide to put in there. They never put that stuff in our official file, but they must have forgot it was in there, and they sent her the street file. That street file that they put up. And from there, it was the ball was rolling. Like, okay, now we got this piece of. And this was a piece of evidence that in December 1992, they sent the state's attorney to the police station and verified that Daniel was in jail. They never gave us that, and that's illegal because they have to give you any evidence whether it helps you or hurts you.
right.
They made a decision that we're not going to get them this. They got to find this on their own, and we're not going to supply it. So
Right.
we wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for that lady doing her job and saying, I ain't accepting this. Like, until y'all see this and take this to the courts, if they send you back to me, I'll deal with it then.
Right.
But I'm not going to deal with it until they deal with it in the circuit court.
What I find interesting is that you could have, like Andy Dufresne, taken that money and just pieced out. You know what I'm saying? Like, just gone to an island, lived with your loved ones there. Like, why do you choose to fight? And, one, to tell your story, two, violence prevention, three, helping kids because you don't believe that there's any bad kids out there, right? This is what you talk about all the time. Like, why fight?
I think for me, like before I came home, I had spent more time in jail than I spent on the streets. I tell people a lot of time, my true friends are guys I met in jail because we did that time together, right? And we were going through our hard times, like we were there for each other. We leaned on each other, and if I needed to hear the voice of reason, I had people that I can go to. And so now, having built that relationship, some of my close friends are still there. Like, I don't know, like I've always been loyal to a fault, and it kind of got me in trouble a lot, but now I'm loyal to things that are loyal to me, which actually helps me navigate this stuff. I just feel like I wish I had somebody that would have sat down and talked with me and got those points across to me. Like, so it's hard for me, like, and I'm still getting calls. I've been home, like I just said earlier, almost 12 years. I just talked to a guy I ain't talked to since I've been home. And it's the same upbeat chemistry. It's not that I forgot him. I didn't know his real name. I didn't know how to get in touch with him. I didn't know how to do this. But it's like, I still send money to jail. They just gave them guys tablets, but they got their phone and they cell on the tablet.
Yeah.
would call all day, and I'm like, you can't call me like this, right? Like, I got other stuff I had to do, but I get it though. And I told one of them, I said, this is the worst thing in the world they could have did is give y'all them tablets. They like, for who? I said, for me. Y'all loving it, but don't call me all day. And don't call me 12 o'clock at night. So now you getting 11:30 at night jail calls. Like, I'll be asleep by 11:30. Like, don't call my phone. But I just got a lot of respect for the things that those guys are enduring, and I just feel like I should be there. I have friends that say like I started a trend because I'm one of the first guys that came home and really stayed connected to that place. And now it's probably over 100 of us out here, and we have guys who are doing restorative justice work, and I mean feeling that feel, like really making a difference, right? And they were juvenile natural lifers, and they didn't gave their time back, and they doing great things with their time and trying to help guys. They trying to change the law for us.
If you could go back to 17-year-old you, right, today, what would you tell the 17-year-old version of yourself?
I think first off, I would apologize to myself for putting them through the things that I put them through, and I would let them know that had I known better, I would have protected them from a lot of things that happened around me and the things that I saw, right? And just assure him that this version of him is going to stay the course and become. I get better every day. I think I learn from babies sometimes, so I'm always like a sponge, and I'm not opposed to learning good information from any. I think I definitely would apologize and just let them know that we got it figured out now.
Yeah.
Like I'm not put them in no more compromising situations, and we're gonna figure this stuff. I would try to do better with the next generation of Patricks and my grandkids and the kids that come after us. So just instilling something in them.
How would you tell someone who is going through the same thing that you went through at that time, like dealing with anger and dealing with limited resources or even just the environment that they're in? Maybe they're just starting to get in trouble with the law too and rebel a little bit. What would you say to that teenager?
I think that we create our own circumstances. And I think we're in control of our own destiny in our lives, right? Because I truly don't believe in the product of our environment theory. Because me and my brother grew up in the same house and our lives took two different paths, right? And then I know doctors and lawyers that came out of those same communities, right? So it'd be like, for me, like we have to take ownership of some of the stuff that we do ourselves. No, but that's the biggest thing, like looking ourselves in the mirror and like holding ourselves accountable, right? Because yeah, a lot of people be like, I did this because my mom. No.
Right.
Like you can't blame it on other people. Like,
Right.
and we can truly change the outcome of our lives if that's what we want to do. Like, and
Absolutely.
in that situation of being incarcerated, like just never give up on yourself. If you know that you standing on the truth, that just don't get rough sometimes, but just don't give up. Because if we give up, everybody's gonna give up.
Absolutely.
If we stop writing people and stop filing stuff, nobody's gonna file anything for us, and nobody's gonna write nobody for us. So
Absolutely.
you have to stay steadfast in your belief. If you know you shouldn't be somewhere, even if you feel like they gave you too much time for it, continue to stay diligent in what you're trying to do, and the outcome will be yours. It'll happen one day.
Yep. Absolutely. That's true. You talked about your family support. You talked about your mother's voice and your mother's influence in general, just in your formative years of your childhood, right? You talked about all the positive hope and faith and prayers, even, right? That stuck with you, all the things that helped you survive, right? So not only that, as you got out, you decided you wanted to make a difference. Hence why you wrote the book, right? Which is an amazing book, by the way. First question for me is, after saying all that, what is your ultimate goal at this point, moving forward, not just for yourself, but also for society? What is the goal? But also, where does that come from to want that?
I think for me, like, I don't know, like I'm just in a space now where I want to see everybody just get along. Like, and that's one of the things like I do enjoy about being down here in Texas. Like, it's a different environment and the way you're handled by other people, right? And then I think like I watched a lot of us like embracing each other and supporting each other and loving on each other. So like it's new to me. Like I think for and why I push so hard for the younger generation is I don't think I think you can learn from other people's mistakes and they have a lot of mistakes to learn from. And just listening to somebody telling you about them and understanding that this is coming from a genuine place. I think a lot of times they see us and before we start talking, they be like, oh, I ain't never been through that. And then you start telling your story and it's like, whoa. And it's like this people just being open minded and understanding that you're not gonna always agree and just agree to disagree sometimes. Moving off of certain subjects because they don't always have to have a negative finished outcome. Like we could just leave it alone and you continue to believe how you believe and I'm gonna believe how I believe. But I just want to see like I have 4 grandchildren. I want to see the world become a safer place for them. I want to see them become good people and productive citizens one day in this world. And I want to see them add to this world. Like I don't want to see like I tell people a lot like I'm a builder. Like I don't like tearing stuff down no more. And I know I've been a part of destruction before, and I just don't. I don't even like the person I used to be. Like when people like that start to come up in my spirit, I fight it. I'd be like, nah, we not doing that. I'm gonna go and get out of here because I know what that looks like. When
Yeah.
you're a part of the problem, you have to figure out how you become part of the solution. But you have to be at the table too for people that have never went through this stuff to understand it. Because I tell people too when I hit them rooms, like I could go to school and learn everything that an educated person learned. Nobody's gonna sign up to learn what I've learned because that was forced on me. I didn't ask to learn that stuff. I didn't volunteer for it. But I could go to a college or a school and learn everything that they're sitting across from us saying they know. But they have to go to listen to the people who have really been through these stuff, telling them how do we get some of this stuff or get it back on the right path.
So here's the $1,000,000 question. Where does your fire inside come from?
It comes from my mother. Like I could say that easily. Like that lady had so much spunk and spirit, and she got up every day and fought to give me and my brother a better life. And I think it's in me. Like I want my people around me to have a better life. I want my people to see different things. I want them to experience different things. And just watching this lady how hard she went for us. And I know it's times where she went without just to make sure me and my brother had. And I think like that's one of the things that I love and I cherish about her and I carry with me everywhere. And it's so crazy. I got this. She's tattooed on my arm. Like this lady is all over me, right? Like this lady goes with me everywhere. Like I don't leave her nowhere. She's with me every step of the way, moving forward in my life. And I'm just happy that I'm at this point where
Yeah.
I know in my heart and my mind that she's proud of me now.
Yeah. She's an angel. But your story is very inspirational. For
Yeah.
anyone who wants to support or contribute to any of the causes that you have, how can they do that?
Well, right now the book is still in Amazon. The Hateful Boys, they can go and purchase the book. It's a great read. I think it's
Nice.
informational, and I think it shows society that this stuff does happen. But other than that, like I'm fine. Like I do a lot of the stuff that I do on my own.
Got it. Time isn't something that you can get back,
Hmm.
but I am really happy that you have found your kind of justice, at least, or actually not your kind of justice, because your kind of justice we already talked about would have been a little bit more than what you've gotten, but some kind of it. Yes, exactly. But at least the opportunity now to be able to live and move forward in a way that you choose.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here and thank you for breathing life into us today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Listening to Deon now, after everything he's lived through, you can feel why his presence is so steady. The calm you hear is a man who learned to accept what happened without letting it define him. What stayed with me the most were the moments he shared about his mother. The times where he couldn't hear her voice when he needed it. And then later, how that same voice became the one that kept him going. There's something quietly powerful in that shift, in the way that love can arrive late and still be right on time. Deon's story isn't just about what was taken from him. It's about what he chose to hold on to anyway. His humanity, his sense of responsibility, and his belief that people can change, and they deserve the chance to. He talks about hope, how it can lift you but also break you. And it feels like what he found now is something even deeper. A kind of acceptance that doesn't excuse what happened to him, but lets him move forward without being consumed by it. A way of living that makes room for beauty and joy, even with everything that he's lost. And maybe that's the invitation for all of us listening, to tell the truth about what's happened to us, to refuse to let it be the only story, and to stay open to the possibility that something steady and even beautiful can grow from the hardest parts of our lives. That's where Deon's fire lives now. And it might be where ours begins too. Until next time. If this story moved you, inspired you, or gave you something to hold on to, please take a moment to like this episode wherever you're listening and share it with someone who might need it. You can stay connected with us on Instagram at the Fire Inside Podcast for behind-the-scenes moments, upcoming guests, and continued conversations about what it takes to persevere, overcome, and rise. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Fire Inside. I'm your host, Sarada, and I want to take a moment to recognize the team that brings these stories to life. This podcast is produced by Andrea Denise Johnson, Stacey Young, and myself. Associate produced by Dr. Kay Rankin. Edited by Brad Phelan. Mixed and mastered by Martin Stebbing. With set design by The Pink Hammer. And original music by Mark Batson. And production services from Local Astronauts. Truly a dream team. And together, we want to remind you that when you're faced with a challenge, you can quiet the noise and listen to the fire inside of you.